Hey everybody, Mr. Rubo here. Today we're going to look at the Chapter 2 review, and this video will cover questions 1 and 2. So here, for number 1, it says find the, and this should say average rate of change between 4 and negative 2 for f of x equals negative x squared minus 4x. So first, as soon as you see average rate of change, you should think slope, right? And for slope, we know the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so we need x's and y's. Well, we have an x and an x. So we need to get y's, and the way we're going to do that is by substituting them in. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just do it over here. Hey, cool, I changed colors, but it did not change. So I'm substituting in 4. So use the function notation, and there we go. So everyone always asks about this negative sign. Because it's not in parentheses with the x, the negative is not being squared. So the only thing I'm squaring is the 4. So I would get negative 16. And then 4 times 4 is 16, but it's minus. So there you go. And so we get negative 32 for the y. So one coordinate point would be 4 comma negative 32. And then the other one, let's see if it decides to change colors here. You substitute in the negative 2. And this time, we'll see the negative on the inside of the squared. Sorry about that, I'm getting way to the edge. So negative 2 squared is 4, but then it's got a negative in the front. So that's really 3 negatives, which means it's negative. And then minus 4 times negative 2 would be plus 8. And you add those together, and you get that when you substitute in negative 2, you get positive 4. So there is our other coordinate point, negative 2 comma 4. So then we go ahead and find the slope, which is our average rate of change. And if you recall, it doesn't really matter which one you call your first point and which one you call your second point, but just for sake of how I wrote it, I calling these my 2's, and these are my x1, y1. All right, so then we simplify. We get 36 in the numerator and negative 6 in the denominator, which means we get negative 6 as our average rate of change. And yeah, that's it for this problem, is substitute in, get your y values, do the slope formula. All right, and then for number 2 is a different type of question. They're telling us a function, and we have different parts here. So the first thing is the domain. So remember, domain for fractions is that denominator cannot be 0. So that's what we're going to set up. We're going to say x squared minus 25 cannot be 0. Now you can factor this. You can also solve it by square rooting. It's really up to you. So I'm going to solve it by square rooting. So I add 25 to both sides. I then square root both sides. The one thing you have to remember is when we square root both sides, we put the plus or minus in the front. So square root of 25 is 5, but it would be plus or minus. The only thing else we have to do is make it look pretty. So have the set notation. So x such that, and the curly brackets around it. So this right here is our final answer in set notation. All right, for part B, if you are ever asked if a point is on the graph, you just go ahead and substitute it in and see if you get a true statement. So 3 is our y, 0 is our x. So wherever I see an x, I'm putting 0. Where I had f of x, I put my 3. And now I simplify it. When I simplify this right side, I get 3 times 0, which is 0, over negative 25. Well, that's all 0. So you look and you say, oh, does 0 equal 3? And hopefully your answer is no, which means this is not on the graph. So your answer here is no. All right, and then moving right along to part C. Part C, it's telling us x equals 10. So what's f of x? So substitute in 10 for x. And then we'll simplify. So 3 times 10 is 30. 10 squared is 100. 100 minus 25 is 75. 30 over 75 does simplify. Divide both by 5. And drawing a blank here. That's 15. Yep, there we go. Oh, just kidding. That's not it. Man, remembering my division facts. I can then also divide by 3, right? So 2/5 is a better answer because I could have divided by 15 instead. Yeah, 15 would have actually gotten us to this point much quicker. All right, so then the last part of this one is even or odd, or neither. And so with even or odd or neither, you substitute in negative x. So when you do that, you simplify what you have. Now, the most common mistake is with dealing with fractions is when you simplify, technically a fraction is opposite. So like if I have negative 1/2, well, I can also write it as negative 1 over 2 or 1 over negative 2. So really, to be considered opposite, to see if it's odd, only one, either the numerator or the denominator, have to be exactly opposite, while the other one stays the same. And that's what happens here, right? The numerator is the opposite of what we started with. Denominator is exactly what it started was. So we had x squared minus 25. So in this case, we get odd. Okay, and remember, if it would have stayed exactly the same, so both top and bottom, if when you simplify it, stays exactly as the original equation, it's even, and then if neither of those things happen, then it's neither. Okay, so thanks for watching, and the next video will have 3 and 4.